It is my pleasure to introduce Alice Siu from Stanford University's Deliberative Democracy Lab. A leading voice in her field, Alice is renowned for her groundbreaking research on the subject that has inspired countless students and policymakers around the world. Today, she will share her insights on deliberative democracy, shedding light on its impact and future implications. Please join me in welcoming Alice Siu.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much. It's exciting to see so much activity out there and so many young people on campus and just trying to take in everything that people are saying. Thank you for the introduction. Again, my name is Alice. I'm here with Stanford's Deliberative Democracy Lab. I'm going to jump right in. We have 30 minutes of me talking and then some time for Q&A. I'm going to start, given my title, just to share something you all know, but just to put it in a graph so we all kind of see it visually. And you don't need to see the numbers or digest the numbers so much, but more or less just to see the two dots moving further and further away from each other. It's really just showing the increase polarization, or to say it simply, the increase of people not liking each other as much over time. And it's not surprising to you all today. Part of the reason that we're all here is to really understand why that is the case and what solutions there could be. Our lab, run by myself and Jim Fishkin, we have been around for the last 30 years on the Stanford campus, and we're really answering the question, what would people think if they were informed? The question is, what would people think? It's not what people are thinking right now. We ask a lot of surveys, and we're always asking everyone, what's on your mind? But that information may not be the same if we had given them information or time to speak to each other with diverse others. So our question really is, what would people think given the time and opportunity to do so? And we've been doing this work for quite some time and have found that really the three main problems with conventional public opinion are as such. I'm going to talk through them very quickly. First, rational ignorance, exactly what it means that we are so busy every single day. We have obligations, we have work, we have family, we have Netflix to stream, and so we rationally decide that we are going to ignore certain things in life, and a lot of times that becomes what happens in our community, or what's on the ballot box, or who's running for office. It's just not as important to us as everything else that may be happening before our eyes. And the second is phantom opinions. As what this terminology is saying, there are opinions that don't exist. The best example that I have for you even was studied years ago. A professor at the University of Cincinnati did a survey called the Public Affairs Act of 1975. And the punchline is that the act did not exist. Did the survey. Thousands of people responded to the survey. Some agreed, some disagreed. And it was just demonstrating that humans, all of us, are embarrassed to say we don't know something, just will answer a survey just to shoo away an interviewer, we'll click away just because we're too busy to actually say we don't know. The Washington Post did an unanniversary of the survey, same results, so proving that humans don't change. So we have a problem. We have a problem of people not paying attention, and then we have a problem of people lying that they are paying attention. And in combination with the third, communication with the like-minded. And this is, on its surface, it's really okay. I mean, we like to socialize with people that are like us. We like to hang out with and talk to people that have similar views. But as technology helps us do that better, we are more and more in our silos And those of us that have friends, or even though your family that are sitting next to you, pretty sure you don't know what was on their news feed this morning. You don't know what they were scrolling through as their headline when they woke up. And that feeds into our problems when, back in decades, for the young people that are here, there was a time where there was a television in the center of our living room, where it was not streaming, but if you turned on the TV at 6 o'clock, it was the evening news, and every channel would be showing some of the top news of the evening. And the next day, if you went up to fill your gas or go to the grocery store, you're pretty sure the person next to you actually watched the same news channel. That does not exist anymore. And so with all of these problems combined, we have a society that is completely unsure what the person next to them thinks. And on top of that, we lie about our opinions. We are really not paying attention. So how are we going to provide our policymakers, our governments, with reliable information, with what the public actually is thinking? So insert the work that we're doing at Stanford. We work to create opportunities for the general public. We bring in random samples of population, recruit them in for a weekend, multiple weekends, or several weeks, and we bring them together to have conversations with diverse others. We give them balanced briefing materials, where those materials are vetted by advisory committees. They engage in small group deliberations with 10 or 12 people. We do that in person and online. And then they have opportunities to engage with expert panels. We iterate between the small group and the expert panel. And then at the end of it, they do a post-deliberation survey where we're able to compare the pre and the post and see if their opinion changes after deliberation, to really demonstrate how people are different after they get to discuss with one another. We've been doing this work, as I said, for the last 3 decades, worked in 50 different countries, 130 different projects, in person and online. And today, as the limited time we have together, I'm going to share a couple examples with you. This is an event we first did in 2019 called America in One Room. We brought together 526 folks from all over the country, flew them in to Dallas, Texas, to a resort where they were there for 4 days. It was an all expenses paid trip, including an honorarium for people that were attending. This is a screenshot of the New York Times article that was done then. The New York Times was actually there. They took a picture of every person that attended, and there was a Sunday spread of all 500 faces. It was the most incredible coverage. And the best way to show you what happened is a CNN clip of what happened in Dallas, Texas.
In the heart of Texas.
Last table on your left, they will check you in.
A little bit more serious, that's beautiful. Yeah, there, that's great.
526 Americans gathering.
I love this. Great, thank you so much.
Upset about the partisan divide.
Let's be real.
This is an experiment, a scientific sample, Democrat, Republican, and Independent, representing 47 states.
You are going to listen to other people whom you never ordinarily would encounter.
Reflecting who votes on Election Day.
Hey, how are you?
It's a 4-day in-person poll called America in One Room. Before arriving, this group took one poll on the major issues in the 2020 election. Here,
It's a great question.
they listened to candidates, to experts,
This is really your time to have your voice heard.
and break into randomly selected small groups to talk.
When's the last time you talked to a 70-year-old white Republican?
I don't think I've ever talked to a 70-year-old white Republican, but until now.
You know, we're being stormed at the southern border, and that's a problem that needs to be dealt with.
The illegal immigrants that we have today, you can see it all of the time, waving their country's flags, burning the American flag.
Sure, on TV you see the ones that do all this crazy stuff, but most of them work.
Like the country, this group is deeply divided about immigration.
I feel like you should have a wall, a border wall.
And along comes ICE, deports them. How could we continue to do that? Not in America. We don't want to learn your language. We don't want to follow your customs. We follow our own customs. And to me, it looks like they don't want to become Americans.
You know, Gary, your family were illegal immigrants. The American Indians, this was their country.
Yeah.
All of us came here, and we didn't learn their language. We didn't learn their customs. We said, you take ours, and you take it now. So we're all children of illegal immigrants. I don't know how we can be so choosy about the new ones.
That got to be a little heated in there.
It definitely did. But we've all respected one another and got to hear each other's opinions. And I never thought I would be able to relate to someone that was a Republican. And I have, more than once.
More than once.
Right.
I think it's been interesting to talk to Trump supporters because I don't meet many.
She's like, I don't want to be a part of this.
Seeing all of these people from all of these other walks of life, exactly how my views have changed on it, I'm not so hardcore.
And what is your advice about political discourse in this country?
You need to listen, not yell, not scream. You need to talk.
At the end,
And this is how your voice will be heard.
a closing poll to see if there's been any movement on the issues, but already visible.
It's opened my mind to see that I need to listen to other people's views.
Is the recognition that there is unexpected power
I really enjoyed you being here.
in bridging the divide.
I have enjoyed this beyond measure.
This is a historic event.
I'm at America in One Room, the youth vote.
They brought up 500 first-time voters to discuss political issues.
You're from rural, urban, red state, blue state.
I just want to show the world that we can speak to each other in a civil way.
There might be a perspective that I might not understand as of right now, but I now have the opportunity to engage with those perspectives.
The first topic that we are discussing is environment.
We don't have one truth. Every single American is getting a different idea of climate change in our world and in our lives.
How do we get rural America on board?
As someone in that rural community, we have multi-generational farms, and they know no different than what they've been told from their parents and then the parents' parents. I actually live on a farm. We're a very small, very tight group. A lot of people stay in my community for their whole life. Out of my whole class, I'm the only one that is going out of state for college. The class size I graduated with was 16. Just because there's not as many of us, we still deserve the right to be heard.
The responsibility of you as a human being is to do your own research. Go read the study yourself instead of reading what CNN said about it.
I know people at home who would never read a 36-page research article, but if it was made easily accessible by anyone, we can change the dynamic. Where I grew up, everyone that I meet is either politically apathetic, as in they don't really care, or they're very much democratic. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm specifically from Cleveland's east side. Everyone there is very adaptable. We know how to not only survive with the resources we've been given, but thrive as well. When I think about having political conversations with people on the other side of the spectrum, it honestly scares me a bit, but I'm also very optimistic.
First, we're going to look at all the questions that you all have been talking about through deliberations.
What are your reasons and concerns for not using student IDs for voting?
One problem with the student IDs sometimes is that it doesn't have a formal address.
I just turned 18 a few months ago, so it'll be my first time voting, and I'm a Republican, so I'm gonna vote for Trump. I'm from Miami, Florida. I'm often the one supporting more of the Republican viewpoint because most people in my generation are leaning more left. I feel like Republicans get the wrong rap these days, especially with the overturned Roe v. Wade.
The very first one, Congress should pass a nationwide ban on medication abortion.
I'm a Muslim, and we don't really believe in abortion. But I also recognize that you have to take religion out of it because we are a secular state.
There are multiple types of abortions that are necessary. And in Texas, there are women who are prosecuted.
My faith as a Catholic, I would not be able to vote to allow it nationwide.
When I first met this person of the same faith as me, I didn't realize that we would have very different views on policies. But it's been super cool, like, seeing how faith plays a role in what they perceive and what I perceive. My hometown is San Marcos, California. It's in San Diego County. It's a lot of mix of cultures. I thought I identified with the Democratic political party, but I would say I'm very moderate. Because I come from an immigrant household, I've always been surrounded by like fear of deportation. So I'm really passionate about showing the other perspective.
When we are so disrespectful to those that differ from us, we make them feel like they can't speak out.
Being able to speak in a civil way is crucial to democracy.
I was able to get viewpoints that were actually influential enough to change what I thought.
A lot of the communication that goes on with my generation is through social media. This was so refreshing to be able to speak to someone face to face.
Knowing that people will listen is just really empowering.
Our generation are so much more open and genuinely empathetic toward the opinions of others.
I honestly feel like this should happen every year.
If both sides come together to compromise, then we can go back to being that country that everybody wants to be.
The important part is that you're opening yourself up to all the ideas because no one is right about everything.
I feel like their voices are so much stronger than mine. I can give you, I'm going to speed through a bit here, just deep diving into the results of the Youth Vote event. After deliberation, participants felt increased satisfaction with the way democracy is working in the United States. It's incredible that over just a few days together with their peers, that they feel like democracy is working better if they had a chance to talk to each other. And this result is the case for the general population as well. This was from 2019, where we saw the group that was in Dallas, Texas, increase their satisfaction level of democracy from 30 to 60%. And last year, we did another event fully online on democratic reform with the general population. Here we broke it down by the political parties, and Republicans initially, before deliberation, felt that it was only 19% felt satisfied with democracy in the United States. After deliberation, 50% they felt satisfied with democracy. And it's incredible to see this happen with just even online. But imagine if we're able to do this more and more over the course of years, the difference that it would make. Yes? Sure.
Democrats and independents
yes.
have a very similar increase.
Mm-hmm.
Republicans, who are the most negative, become the most positive.
Incredible.
What do you make of that?
It is really, I think, the lack of opportunities to speak with others. I think there is something about being in a place with diverse others, exchanging views, and knowing that other people are actually listening to you. I think in a lot of the videos that even the young people shared, verbalized, was that they felt the being able to see the other side in person and have these exchanges, but not only that, know that their views are being registered by the other side.
I guess what I'm getting at a little bit is that should be generically true. Why does it seem to be more true
among Republicans? And that is a question we can answer empirically. I don't have it here, but I'm happy to try to run some regressions and answer that empirically for you. There may be changes in their policy opinions, their attitudes towards some of the policy proposals that they were discussing that affects how they're viewing their views of democracy. But I'm happy to talk about that with you afterwards. I have, let's see, just take about 7 more minutes. I'm going to speed through changes. This is from the 2019, the Dallas deliberation. I'm showing you the Republicans, their views on immigration, just as shown in the video. There was actually a huge decrease in their support for forcing undocumented immigrants to return home before applying to live and work in the United States, dropping from 79 to 40%. Support for reducing the number of refugees allowed to resettle in the United States dropped from 66 to 34%. And so you see these dramatic changes, ones that we did not expect that would happen in just over 4 days of deliberation. But this just didn't happen with Republicans. Among Democrats, you saw decreases in what we would normally see as support for some policies, like in raising federal minimum wage. That dropped from 83 to 59%. And the baby bond proposal dropped from 62 to 21%. And so really incredible drops. And the discussions that they were having, the pros and the cons of why some of these proposals may not be what they thought they would be, or have results in what they thought it would result in, were shifted their opinions dramatically. And more than that, we have a few academic papers that have been published since to show that there is reduction in affective polarization. That is, they like each other more after deliberation. So the hugging that you saw in that CNN video, that translated to actual numbers showing that people were becoming warmer to each other after deliberation. And when you have time, I have a podcast series where I interviewed one of the small groups from America in One Room, and they shared their thoughts a year later in 2020 and shared the impact that the event had on them. One, which I'm not going to play here, her name was Beverly. She's 70 years old, and she claimed that the event made her move from Frisco, Texas to Cary, North Carolina, because she felt that she needed to be around a community that was more diverse, and that if she didn't move, she would just be waiting and in her home in Frisco, Texas, waiting to die. It was an incredible, yes?
Totally believe you get this many people together and
Yes.
find the discourse. How do you scale this?
Oh, I can skip to that slide, right? Let me try to get to the, well, these are the slides from the Youth Vote event, but I'm gonna answer this question about scaling right here. We have a AI-assisted deliberation platform where it does not require human moderators. Years ago, we worked with engineering folks at Stanford. We were posed a question: what can technology do for a democracy? And we sat for a while, we brainstormed, and we said, in order to scale deliberation so that more and more people can experience what those in person are experiencing, is we need to eliminate the human moderator and build it into a platform. So we took the years of experience we had training human moderators, identified all the necessary features, and built it into this platform that is AI-assisted. We've been running it for the last several years. We've logged 40,000 hours of deliberation in 30-plus countries, 25 different languages. The platform itself, it's AI-assisted, so it's not fully automated, but it has a speaking queue, just like a human moderator would. You'd raise your hand, you press the request to speak button, and you get in the queue, so you see where you are when you're allowed to speak. It's real-time transcription. We can track any offensive language. We have, the platform will nudge people to speak if they haven't done so already. We are starting to use different types of language models where you can tailor the nudging, and it starts out very general. It starts to escalate, where it gives you different arguments that are from the briefing materials that they have received, and ask them to what they think about a certain argument and to contribute to the conversation using that argument. And what we found is the cases that we've used it, very high participant evaluation, still see the significant opinion changes that we see from in-person. And more importantly, we see the building of empathy and trust on the online platforms, just as we see in the in-person deliberations. And I can show you this 1-minute clip.
Just every part of our day-to-day life, common media consumption, everything. And now it's all become so segmented that we're losing touch with each other. And I think that having a common experience that every person in the country goes through this year of service to their country is not only fulfilling a duty, but it's also connecting us together.
I mean, I would love that unity. I think that would be great, but I just don't think it's practical and forcing people into a year of service. I mean, there are a lot of people who couldn't afford it. Like, I know for my life, I don't know when I would have done it. Like the year after college, I just had a baby, and I needed money. I needed a real job. So I don't know.
So that is a clip from a deliberation we did. It was in partnership with the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. They wanted to understand what people thought about having a national public service, so that every young person, 18 plus, would do a year of public service. And that was the deliberation of the segment about them talking about it. But that is the platform. It's it's really actually a lot of group decision making. So as they're discussing, they can press the move on button if they want to move on to the next agenda. Once you press the move on button, there's a pop-up that everyone's screen, and they ask, do you feel like all the arguments, pro and con, have been shared? If everyone says yes, they move on. If they say no, then they continue the discussion. And it's been incredibly successful to be able to do these deliberations. And I promised there would be about 10 minutes for the Q&A, but I'm just going to show, we've been working with a lot of schools, and since we're out of school today, just to share the different places we've been working with. Close Up, Friends School, actually was at Menlo School years ago doing deliberations in the classroom here. But we have national events that we're doing in October. We're bringing more and more young people together to deliberate online as well. And if you want to read academic papers about this and how deliberation actually depolarizing among students in college and in high schools, we have a number of papers that have shown showed the results of this as well. So I'm going to just pause and take questions, because it sounds like there's a lot more interest in the questions. Yes, please.
The year of public service.
Yes.
There was a study prior about when the draft went away.
Mm.
And the draft had been where America came together. And it didn't matter where you were from, in the world, Mississippi and New York, you began to meet the other side. But was there any tie back to that?
No, this is from the American Academy had published this huge document about reforming democracy. And one of the proposals was about public service. And I think a few years ago, there was some talk with the Biden administration about a climate corps. So it's kind of like stemming from that conversation and wondering what the public what youth actually think about it. The results from the deliberation is that youth are very interested in it, but only if they're actually getting paid for it. So it's the comparison to AmeriCorps, where it exists, but in reality, it's people that are quite privileged that are able to do AmeriCorps because it pays very little. But if young people have been saying that if it is actually fully incentivized, like a real job, then people would be very interested in actually doing a year of public service. Yes? Yes. That is like beyond the topic of my discussion here today. I think I'm gonna have to take that offline because I don't know if I can actually answer that in 5 minutes that we have left. But let me just say that having seen deliberations among people that are Trump supporters, are Republican, et cetera, and in these groups, and people that are extreme left in the groups together, there is something about being placed in a structured civil environment, that they're able to carry out these conversations. And we see it every time when we run these events, whether online or face-to-face. They walk out of the room and they tell us, that was surprisingly civil. I didn't know I could have these conversations with people with views so different from mine. So I think that it's possible. The question, as you're posing, is whether there's political will to make it possible. Yes? Sure. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Oh, they are public. They are public. The videos, the briefing materials, all public on our website. We work with a lot of teachers to use them in classrooms too. I have to rely on all of you to be spokes in the wheel to make it work. Yes, please.
So 2 things.
Yes.
I remember reading an article about they were doing deliberative polling, but they had people on stage and they televised it for others to see the deliberation.
That is true. Yeah.
In the North Bay about, I think it was about transportation or something like that. And the voters that they surveyed that had watched it felt better about their vote after they saw people deliberate. They had read briefing books to people that were on stage so that they felt that they could talk about the topic. It was something.
Yeah.
I'm an educator, and I used to have students talk to students because we live in a bubble. And so I used a program that allowed students to match up with another school.
Yes. Yeah.
Away. Now that costs money, even though the technology is much easier.
Yep.
But I think that students need to do what you said that they do there. And it can be easily accessible, done online.
Yep.
How can we scale that up where teachers are signing their class up, having their kids get out of their bubble and interact around topics with students that are not in their bubble so that they can see all their perspectives?
Yep. Close-Up Foundation, I work with them. That's exactly what they do. And as you said, there are a number of other places and online services that are providing this too. And I'm happy to connect you with them. They would love it. Yes?
I think this is awesome. What's also true is that there's a lot of places in rural America. I'm doing a lot of work right now in northern Nevada. And the vast majority of people in northern Nevada listen to radio. They don't have high-speed internet. They live in complete debt. They don't have access to technology the way that we do. And there's many, many places in rural America that are like that. Has there been a discussion on taking it back to old technology that is just honestly more, that's how rural people consume information is often through rural radio, like old technology that can, it doesn't require as much infrastructure?
No, I hear you. We haven't gone down the route of radio, but when we do our recruitment, it is the case where it's through random sampling, so we get a vastly diverse group of people that come. And especially when they're in-person events, we provide however much money is needed to get people there. So whether it's someone who's in a rural part of the country or someone who needs to get off work and needs those days of work covered in order to make the event, we provide funds for that and we incentivize to make that happen. So it is, and when it's done online, and if someone tells us they need a new computer, they need a new phone, they need the internet boosted, we provide all of that as well. So to the extent that money can solve the problem, we do our best to make that happen in these events. I think I am at time, unfortunately. So thank you so much for being here and listening.